Unforgettable stories out of Western Jamaica from the scrapbooks of Adrian Freighter. In the most recent video I did, which was published under the headline, The Great Schoolboy Magicians of the West, I was somewhat taken aback by the level of responses it generated. Although some subscribers just went about bigging up the players they liked instead of sticking to those who were exceptionally skillful. Albeit some of those players who were highlighted were exceptionally talented in their own ways. So as to give the players who were impactful and not necessarily skillful their just due, in this edition of Lest You Forget, I will be looking at some of the above average schoolboy strikers from the West who made an indelible mark on schoolboy football during the 80s, 90s and up to the 2000s. As I did with the extremely skillful ones, which were predominantly midfield players, I will be looking at them through the impact they had for their respective schools. Since this video and the one before it was inspired by a discussion about Cornwall College, I will again start with Cornwall College. While I am not able to go back to the 1950s through lack of personal knowledge, in the 1960s, Cornwall produced two of the most respected schoolboy strikers of all times in Ali McNabb and Billy Griffiths. In the 70s, names such as Colin S90 Jarrett and Derek D. White came up for respectful mention as they were very dangerous before the goal. In the 1980s, names like Anthony Laird, Gorian Clark, Vinton Williams and David Faulkner were all highly respected on the schoolboy football circuit. However, of the players of recent vintage, the two that stand out the most are Dane Richards and Jordan Fletcher. While both of them have played pro football and have represented Jamaica on several occasions, I would give Dane Richards a nod based on his longevity and his impactfulness all around. While Greenpan High School has not had a rich history in schoolboy football, they have produced one of the players I consider to be one of the most impactful players in recent times. That player is Dino Williams, who scored many goals in schoolboy football before going on to Montego Bay United to crave waves in the National Premier League. He also had the distinction of representing Jamaica. Herbert Morrison Technical High School, which has good schoolboy football pedigree, having won the DaCosta Cup in 1986 and 1988, has had a decent history of producing high-quality strikers, with classic goal scorers such as Winston Tonto Henry, Mian Agla Scarlett, and the devastating Devon Doberman Ricketts. However, the honour for Herbert Morrison would have to be shared between Marquino Rice Gillens and David Dixon, who hunted together as a team in their final year at school and scored over 40-odd goals between them. Interestingly, both of them got called up for the national team fresh out of school. While William Nip High School has never won the DaCosta Cup, they have nonetheless turned out at least 3 quality strikers who will long be remembered in the annals of schoolboy football. 3 reads as follows: Shanovan De Souza, Casman Williams and Junior Grabber Brown. All 3 went on to have good club careers playing football in St. James. Brown was quite prolific at violent kickers, while De Souza and Williams did well at Seba. In fact, Williams went on to represent Jamaica. When St. James High School won the DaCosta Cup in 2008 and not in 2005 as I stated in a previous video, their top player was striker Alan Atty, who won the competition's Golden Boot. Like many gifted schoolboy strikers before him, Atty got called up for the national team right out of school. Like I did with the Magicians, I will close the show with Rusea's. Rusea's, which was a dominant high school in Jamaica's football in the 1980s, has had a long history of producing high-class strikers. Players such as Kenneth Blacks Gaynor, Garnet Deere, Anthony Fogarty, Capel Corntail Donaldson, and Almy McFarlane could stand out in any conversation about quality strikers. However, For me, the most talented striker that has come out of Rusea is none other than Brian Rambo Brown Jr. Brown was a goal scoring machine who never took a half day. Was the most talked about schoolboy football in the country in his final year at school. And clubs from far and wide, including overseas, came knocking at his door. While he enjoyed a decent stint playing professional football in the United States, in between decent stint on the local circuit, especially in his time at Harborview, unfortunately, Brown did not create the kind of impact one would have expected in the national colours, but nonetheless, he will go down as one of the legends of schoolboy football. As to whom I would give the title as the best schoolboy striker out of Western Jamaica in my time, that honour would have to go to Brian Rambo Brown. Dane Richards and Capel Corntail Donaldson a close second and third. As I did in naming the skillful midfield players, I am going to name two Manning Cup strikers that caught my eye. The first one is former Calabar striker Wayne Black Sambo Cargill, who used to unsettle defenders with his blazing speed and frighten goalkeeper with his awesome kicking power. The other is former Tivoli Gardens High School striker Michael Zun Clark, who in my estimation was a complete striker. Once he got into the goal area, he rarely left without the ball being safely deposited in the back of the net, whether by his right foot, left foot, chest or head. I am sure that some of my subscribers will not agree with me to give the number one spot for Western Jamaica to Brian Rambo Brown. And against that background, you are welcome to tell me who are your favourite strikers of all time. Unforgettable stories out of Western Jamaica from the scrapbooks of Adrian Freitas. Before you go, please remember to subscribe.